We're here at the Culvers in Allendale, having Culvers with head women's wrestling coach Jake Short. Jake, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So let's start off our conversation with what led to you coming to Grand Valley State to be the first ever head women's wrestling coach in program history.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story. I actually was a head coach in Minnesota at a Division III program there for a women's program, and my wife she's from Michigan. She was ready to move back, and so we decided we were going to kind of do this back and forth thing. And to be honest, it did not work out. It took like a week, and we decided that this is not going to work. So I actually ended up moving out here. She chose a spot in Allendale, which is in between her mom and her sister. And so we moved to Allendale. I had no plan. I planned on just figuring it out when I got here. Sure enough, the women's position was open. I stepped on campus and I started looking around just to see if I would be even interested in jumping right back into coaching, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the institution, with the resources, and so then I threw my name in the hat. It was pretty quick. I moved here. I've been here for like 4 days. I checked out campus and then got the job, and so we've been rolling ever since.
It all came full circle for you with your wife and yourself moving out here and getting the gig. Growing up, what got you interested in being a wrestler?
Yeah, so my family, we were a part of wrestling. Like, we're a wrestling family. My uncles all wrestled at the University of Minnesota. My grandpa, he actually was one of the big starters of what we call Storm for Minnesota. It's the freestyle side of things. So he actually was a big part of that starting, and so I started wrestling at a really young age. I followed my dad into the wrestling room. My dad was a head coach at Simley High School in Minnesota, and then I continued my career at the University of Minnesota as well. So we've had some family time at the University of Minnesota, and then, like I said, I jumped right into coaching for a club, got on the women's scene, and then led me right here. So.
You mentioned Minnesota, wrestling at Minnesota. The Midwest is such a wrestling hotbed. Iowa, the Michigan schools at the D1 level, that's got to help pay dividends too when it comes to becoming a coach wrestling at that level, bringing that knowledge here. Yes, Grand Valley is Division II, but just bringing that knowledge in general to Grand Valley State, to the wrestling side of things. It's just kind of a notebook where it's just endless kind of information you're relaying to your wrestlers that you have coming up here.
Absolutely. I've been blessed with phenomenal coaches in my career as I went through, and I a lot of what I've done and what I do as a head coach, I have to give a lot of credit to the people who have kind of shown me and guided me the way of what I believe a great coach should be in the sport of wrestling. And so, yes, the Midwest, very tough wrestling, some of the best wrestling. The East Coast has got some great wrestling too, and now you get to see the growth on the women's side. Women's wrestling is growing at such a fast rate, and it's so fun to watch because you can see the different levels of talent and the amount of time that back in the day, women were wrestling with men through their high school career. Now you're seeing full-on women programs in high school. It's growing so fast and so fun to see. It's great to be a part of that actual growth and be an advocate for the sport, and getting to see these smaller schools that are having full-on women's programs where, like I said, a few years back, even a couple of years, those women were wrestling with men all through their careers.
Yeah, and you mentioned too, I was going to mention that at the high school level, so many more girls are coming out and wanting to wrestle. Where have you seen the biggest growth from women's wrestling, not just at the high school and college levels, but also the youth levels as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you even look at the state of Michigan right now, it's the development. You're seeing high school wrestlers who are coming out and taking out senior world team members. People have been in the game for a long time because they're starting younger now. Back in the day, with the resources that they had, it was what it was. And now you're seeing these high school, 16, 17-year-old women who are coming out and competing with the best in the United States. And so I think that's just, you have to give credit to just like youth development coaches really starting to invest in these youth programs and these women at a young age. And now you're seeing it. They're getting to high school and they're extremely talented. And now you're seeing the level of competition at the collegiate level. this is where your Olympic team members representatives are coming from. They're coming at 20, 21 years old because they have the resources. They've started at a younger age. They're getting in with some of the best coaches in the country. So, I think it's happening all over the country. It's not just one state's really taking over. California has been a staple for women's wrestling for a long time, but you see it Midwest is Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. Iowa, obviously, the Division I level. They've taken a big step.
They're
right?
a consistent force,
Absolutely.
And you mentioned playing for your dad or wrestling for your dad. Was he the biggest mentor for you growing up?
100%. I hope someday I do have a son, 3-year-old son as well, which was part of the move, conversation with the move as well. I don't know how he did it. He was a phenomenal coach when he had to be a coach, and he knew when to be a father. And so that balance of how he did it, I have no clue, because I think it's a pretty tough thing to do, to be able to balance a relationship with your son, but also coach him at an extremely high level. And so all the credit in the world to him. I think he's, he mentally wise, he's such a great coach in that way. He knows how to peak you for performance. He's a full package, and then, like I said, I've had the opportunity to train with some of the best coaches in the United States at the University of Minnesota at a club called Pinnacle. Jared Lawrence and Brandon Paulson there. Again, those guys, Olympic silver medalists, national champ. I've been blessed with phenomenal coaching.
Absolutely. And you look at this program, this women's program, it's built from the studs all the way up. That's got to be exciting for you, knowing that you are the first head coach. You get to build this the way you want it to be. First off, how exciting is that? And secondly, how is the roster panning out here?
It's extremely exciting. We got off to an extremely hot start. As soon as I took the job, I had 3 or 4 transfers that immediately got in the portal and said they wanted to come wrestle for Grand Valley State University. And so that kind of shocked the women's side. People were like, what's Grand Valley? What is this? They start, now you're getting interest, you're pulling in a lot of high school athletes who are like, wow, why are they transferring to a school that literally doesn't have a program yet? And then they see it, and they see the resources. They see everything that Grand Valley has to offer, the education. It's the full package, and and then I'm blessed, like I said, that I've had some athletes who I've coached in the past who believe in me and kind of jumped right on board as soon as I left. And so it's exciting. The biggest thing for me is going to be the culture piece, making sure that everyone who kind of steps in this room and is a part of this roster is the right fit. And wants to, they have that drive, that passion to want to be great. And on top of that, be a great human. Make sure we're crushing it in the classroom and crushing it on the mat. And then, it's whatever their dreams, their goals, their aspirations. I'm just a resource for them. They're the ones that have to go step out on the mat. And so I'm just trying to give them the tools so they can kind of lead them in the right direction. And I think, like I said, the roster, as of right now, I believe we're going to have one of the best recruiting classes in the country, without a doubt in my mind. And then on top of that, we've been blessed with the transfers that decided to come over and look to wrestle for Grand Valley next year.
That's definitely exciting news as the season gets going here later on in 2024. The facilities, where do the facilities rank? You've been to so many upper end D1 places. Where do the facilities rank?
Yeah, it's actually, that's part of my, when I'm recruiting, that's something I bring up all the time. I've wrestled at basically every Big Ten school in the country. I've been all over the United States of America and wrestled in different facilities. I've been in their practice rooms. Grand Valley is right there with all these Division I facilities. It really is. And that's why when I stepped into that room, I knew. I saw it and I was like, this is unbelievable. It's got everything you need. Brand new locker rooms. It's 3 giant mats that fill up the whole room, and we even have more space. Brand new lifting facility, brand new training facility. It's really hard to beat. And then on the women's side, I was talking about just men's Big Ten. On the women's side, Iowa just came out with their program this year, had a phenomenal year, won the national tournament. And if you compare our facilities, now they did just get a brand new wrestling room, but if you compare our facilities, I wouldn't put it second to anybody. I really, really believe that. I think we're set up for success, and then it's about going out and taking care of business, doing my job, and allowing the athletes to do their job.
And have some fun with you before we let you go.
Absolutely.
From a commoner's standpoint, that's just a common follow with wrestling. Your best finishing move that you had when you were wrestling on the mat?
Best finishing move, I would probably say, so I used to do what's called like a straight arm.
Okay.
And that was on the folk style side, so women's wrestling freestyle, folk style. It's called straight arm. That was probably definitely my best finishing move. I had like 42 pins my senior year, so
Okay.
it was. I definitely put people away in high school.
Okay. Any individual accolades that you're most proud of in high school or in college?
Sure. I was a 4-time Minnesota State champ. Won it my 9th grade year, and then all the way through. 4-time Fargo national finalist, 1-time champ, unfortunately, and then I made the blood round of the national tournament at the collegiate level, 3-time national qualifier, and so I guess those are some. One of my favorite tournaments I ever wrestled in was the Pan Am Championships, where I won gold there representing the United States of America. So that was pretty fun at like 18. So
there's no better feeling than representing your country.
Absolutely.
For sure. Before we let you go, we are at Culver's in Allendale.
Oh, yeah.
Your favorite item, I should say, to have at Culver's?
That's going to be a tough one because I'm going to have to go, with like what I would say is like an appetizer.
Okay.
I really love their cheese curds here.
Oh, can't complain about that at all. I agree with you
The
wholeheartedly.
cheese curds with a little bit of ranch. Maybe
Yeah.
that's my Minnesota side coming
Okay.
out, a little ranch with the cheese curds.
Okay, very good. Well, Jake, we appreciate your time here. Best of luck the upcoming season. Looking forward to following you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
This has been Culver's with head women's wrestling coach Jake Short.